Hello, people. It's Mr. Reasoning here. What I'm gonna tell you and what you're gonna hear is gonna make you understand everything that I've been talking about in the past few weeks about these adverts that they keep showing about black man, white woman constantly, or mixed race couples and all that. Not that I ain't got nothing against mixed race relationships because I've had them myself, right? So don't think I'm coming for you. No, that's not what this is about. It's about noticing what's going on the TV and in films, right? This is gonna answer the questions. And I said before, something's going on. This is gonna show you something's going on, right?
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, my name is Maureen.
And I'm Maren.
Right, so in today's video, I find this episode to be quite interesting because life as we all know it started in Africa, and the biggest curiosity, or rather the intriguing thing that people usually ask themselves till today is, how did white people come into existence?
Right, we've been seeing a lot of videos of scientists who are seriously studying melanin, and a lot of them also are curious about the DNA, African DNA. So in today's episode, we're gonna be playing you a video of a brother from TikTok who is going to be debunking all of this, and let us know what you think about this on the comment section. Yeah, kindly remember to subscribe if it's your first time here. Let's watch and then we come back with our commentary.
First of all, let's start here. Listen.
Did you know that Africa is home to the most genetically diverse people on the planet? But what does that really mean? And why is African DNA so unique compared to the rest of the world? Think about this. Every single person on Earth can trace their ancestral roots back to Africa. That's right, whether you're living in Asia, Europe, the Americas, or Australia, the genetic blueprint of humanity began on the African continent. But how does that impact the way we view genetics, evolution, and even the future of medicine? Today, we're diving deep into the science, history, and cultural importance of African DNA. We'll explore its incredible diversity, what makes it different, and why it holds the key to unlocking some of the biggest mysteries about human health and evolution. So
We're gonna delve into this DNA thing. Very interesting because it's a recent science. It's a new science. Say about 8 years old, something like that. I think the first genome was discovered in the 1950s, and they've been breaking it down ever since, and more research. Now everybody's doing the DNA thing and all that stuff. So before that time, racism believed that there was all these different races, but what that man's telling you is everyone is one. We all are one race. Africa is the place where everybody started on this planet. Everyone can trace their deepest roots back to the continent of Africa, and DNA is now showing them that they need African DNA. They need to study it because they're finding out all this stuff about diseases and resistance to things and all kind of thing. You see, I was reading this, I do some research on this, right? I was reading this science book, paper about where white people came from, because I wanted to know, where did white people come from? How did they come about? And they come about in full about 8,500 years ago. Just 8,500 years ago, there's two genes that make up pale skin, right? And them genes are not visible in the DNA story until 8,500 years that they are there a lot. Before that time, everybody in the planet was some different shade of brown. Everybody was a different shade of brown, be it dark, that is black, or light, but it was brown all the time. And then about 8,500 years ago, some of that group lost all their pigmentation completely. Now, that group of brown people even had blue eyes, especially in Europe. In Europe, they keep finding these old skeletons, 10,000 years old. And now, through the DNA, when they go down into the DNA, they discover that this skeleton, they found one in Sweden recently. You know the one they found in England, right? Which they did. They found that he had brown skin, blue eyes, black hair. They found one in Sweden, 10,000 years old. Same thing, brown skin, blue eyes, black hair. So this blue-eyed thing was already there before the pale skin, right? And they also found that in Africa, the group that has these two genes that make up the pale skin more than any other African group is in Ethiopia. So it's there. but that gene hasn't come out in Ethiopia, so them people is still brown. But that group of people amongst the Africans has that gene more than anybody else in Africa, right? So this is, so anyway, let's get to the next part.
But it's not just about ancient DNA. Even today, African populations continue to hold genetic variations that are rare or entirely absent in other parts of the world. This makes African DNA a gold mine for researchers
African
studying
DNA,
genetics,
gold mine,
evolution, and even modern medicine. This incredible diversity and uniqueness mean that African DNA isn't just about understanding the past. It's crucial for the future.
It's crucial.
It provides insights into how humans can adapt to diseases, environmental changes, and other challenges.
Yeah.
For example, by studying the genetic traits of African populations, scientists have made breakthroughs in understanding diseases like malaria, HIV, and even cancer. In the next section, we'll explore why this diversity is so important,
right?
Not just
Listen.
for Africa, but for humanity as a whole.
Listen to what he's
Genetic
saying.
diversity isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a critical factor in understanding the survival and adaptability of our species. But why does this matter so much? And how does African DNA play a central role in this story? Genetic diversity is the foundation of adaptability. It's what allows species to survive and thrive in different environments. The broader the genetic pool, the more tools a population has to overcome challenges like diseases,
Broader.
climate changes,
Broader.
and environmental pressures. African DNA, with its unmatched diversity, carries a wealth of genetic variations that have helped humans adapt for thousands of years.
I'm sorry I did cut over him. Sorry for talking over him, but he said one of the important things they're looking to challenge is climate change and environmental circumstances. What's in the news at the moment? Climate change. And that's been talked about for a long time now. So, basically, what he's saying is, African DNA, you heard the man say, is a gold mine in order for our survival. So these people have come to realize for them to survive into the future, into this changing world, they need to go back to the source of their ancestors. Their ancestors left Africa all them 70,000 years ago, and they left with certain genes that have not diversified in the way that African genes have continued to diversify. They need them back. They need to go back to the source. So where the racists were once preaching about racism and separate races of people, what DNA is showing people that we are all Africans and we all come from Africa. And now they're realizing it. They want to get with the original source. So all this pushing of mixed race, like these adverts and the mixed race children and all that stuff, showing it's now normalizing what they once hated. When I say they, I'm talking about the white Europeans, like in England and France and Germany and America. I'm talking about them because they hated the mere fact of mixing at one point, right? So I'm not putting down people who are mixed or who are in mixed relationship. I'm talking about how the white people once hated the mere fact of mixing, the mere thought of it. They did everything they could to not let it happen, right? Just think about America. Think about all them lynchings. Most of them lynchings, most of them men that were lynched was because a white woman was involved. Sometimes they didn't even touch the white woman. They just looked at her and that was enough for them to get lynched, right? They were burned. They were nearly always castrated. So their genitalia was always attacked. The part of them that could produce a child with a woman was always attacked, right? That's how much they hated it. The mere thought of someone like me getting with one of their women. And now it's the complete reverse. I can't turn on my television and not see a black man with a white woman. In this country, England, when my dad come here in the 50s, he'd tell me that when them white women who were brave enough to have mixed race children and walk on the street with them, they were spat at. They were insulted, right? Their children were insulted, right? Their children were spat at by other white people because that mother, that white woman dared to go, obviously, with a black man. Right? That's how it was in England. My dad tell me how it was. Right? Them women was brave to push them prams down the street. Right? A lot of them had their babies taken away from them. Forcibly put into homes. Not even adopted. Foster homes because people didn't want. Black people weren't allowed to adopt those children. White people were allowed to adopt them, and most of them didn't want to. Black people weren't even on the radar for adopting mixed race children. Can you imagine that? The people who would treat them the best weren't even allowed to. So now basically, DNA science has showed these people that they need the original people. They need their DNA. They need the Africans in order for them to progress into the future, for them to carry on, for them to adapt things that the Africans have. They need to include the Africans. They need to be with them physically, and you know what I mean by physically, to produce so they can keep carrying on. Once they hated us, now they want us.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about that episode. So right now, it is silent but not invincible of how palm-colored people are trying to align themselves with any type of black. And you know, a while back, during the days of Farrakhan, he used to wonder, and people used to ask why palm-colored people could not leave black people alone, especially when black people were trying to create spaces of themselves, and they would always find a way to infiltrate these places. More so, black Americans would ask the question, why do white people not just leave us alone? And we have told you time and again, even Risa said this at some point, that palm-colored people were studying black people while black people were minding their own businesses. And right now, the biggest question I'm asking today is, why do palm-colored people link their ultimate survival to black people? And right now, they're trying to bring themselves even closer to black people, unlike slavery era, where they used to segregate black people, unlike in colonial era, where they used to segregate black people.
Yeah, he mentioned a very important point about mixing. And guys, you remember the length these people would go to make sure that they don't have an offspring who has a ton, a drop of, you know, melanin blood in them. Some people would even kill the babies, you know, they would unalive the babies just so they make sure that there's not an offspring in their lineage that has melanin in them. But right now, that is what is being encouraged from Hollywood, everywhere. They're encouraging mixing, and they're bringing this romanticized idea of mixed families, you know. And you ask yourself, for a long time we've been told that people who have melanin are the less superior race. So right now you're asking, if our melanin is so inferior, yeah, why is it that they deem it important? They are encouraging these types of relationship. Yeah, there is something that they know. There is something that they know that the world kind of is oblivious to, if I may say. And then let's talk about another thing. Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed this trend where, guys, let's look at things like sports, Olympics, you know, how many people excel, like the biggest majority of group who excel in Olympics, you know. So it's always been known that, you know, black people have superior genes, and you'll find that in this modern day, there are women, palm-colored women and palm-colored men who deliberately get with black people just so to have an improved, you know, offspring. Another thing he talked about that I find that was quite interesting, yeah, when he was talking about how they're studying African DNA. Let me now take you back a little bit to when colonization was happening, guys. And I don't know if you remember, and I do believe that it wasn't only in Africa, but let's just focus on Africa for now. When the palm-colored people were coming into Africa to colonize, and majority of them died because of diseases, the tropical diseases, the change in climate, you know, the weather changes, you know, and they really were unalived because of that. And now we are talking about climate change, and because of climate change, we're seeing a lot of changes that are happening in the world. And you see a lot of scientists who are studying this because, as the brother said, yeah, it starts right now. The future, they want to study the future and the past about melanated DNA in order to understand and to prepare themselves for what? Because black people have survived a lot of things, including environmental changes, including diseases, that they want to understand and maybe arm themselves with that information in preparation for what's to come.
Right. And you know, guys, my problem is not that they are studying our DNA. My problem is who exactly the person that is studying our DNA, which is the palm-colored people. And if you come to look at it seriously, right now I have not heard of any black doctors who are studying palm-colored people for them to say palm-colored people are A, B, and C. But palm-colored people are studying black people in numbers. They have our DNA, they have our data, and right now they are some sort of mystery when it comes to being studied, because they haven't been studied a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like that needs to change, because they say if you give your enemy a chance to know you better and to know who you are, you also have to have some information about them that will help you. But guys, I don't know what you think about that episode. Let us know in the comment section, because we'd really like to hear from you about this topic.
Yeah, so guys, let us know what you think about this episode, and also consider subscribing if you're new to this channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.